All right, so the first thing that you need to do is install something called PIP. So PIP is a package management system that is used to install and manage packages that are written in Python. And PIP is a little bit like CocoaPods, but for Python packages. So if you go onto the Python package index at pypi.python.org, then you'll be able to see a list of all the Python packages. And as you can see, currently there's over 100,000 packages that you can download. So downloading it from here and maintaining it and keeping it updated is kind of tiresome. So instead, we're going to be using pip to do that. So Macs will come with Python pre-installed. And if you've installed virtual environments in the past, or if you've downloaded Python 2 or Python 3, then you probably already have pip on your system. But it's pretty easy to check to see if you have pip installed. All you need to do is just write pip-v, and you can see which version you've got. And if you don't have pip installed, then it'll tell you that it doesn't exist. So I've already got pip installed, 9.0.1. Now, if you don't have pip installed, it's also incredibly easy to install it. So if you're unfamiliar with Python and Linux commands, then it's probably easier just to head over to this URL, which I'll link to in this lesson. And all you have to do is just download this by right-clicking, save link as, and I'm going to save it on my desktop. Now, once you've got it downloaded, then you need to change directory to where it's located. So in my case, I've downloaded it to my desktop. And once I'm inside my desktop, then all I need to do to install pip is just to run it using Python. Now, I'm going to add the sudo keyword in front of it, which stands for superuser2. So that'll ask me for my password, but it gives me admin privileges. So you're going to write sudo, then you're going to write Python. So this is what you're going to use to run that get pip.py file that you've downloaded. So just review your line of code, just make sure it says exactly the same as mine, and then hit enter. And at this point, it's going to ask you for a password. So once you have successfully installed pip, then you should see this line where it says successfully installed version 9.0.1. So yours might differ from mine. It'll probably be higher than this because you'll be doing it in the future. So once that's done, we're going to use pip to install a virtual environment. Now, why do we need a virtual environment? Well, so in order to convert those models in Caffe or Keras into a .ml model file, we're going to need a package from Apple, which is called CoremlTools. Now, it's an open source package, but it requires Python 2.7 in order to work. Now, you may or may not know, but Python has quite a bit of a problem in terms of its versioning. So the Python team have brought out the latest version of Python, which is Python 3, or more specifically Python 3.6. But there's a lot of people who have already created and spent a lot of effort maintaining open source tools that were built using Python 2. So there's quite a bit of contention, and this problem has divided the Python community. So it's almost like, remember back when we had Swift 1, which got upgraded to Swift 2, Swift 3, there were quite a lot of code changes. And thankfully, the people who created open source frameworks for Swift 2 and Swift 1 were able to update them to Swift 3 and now Swift 4. But in the case of Python, there's actually now two distinct camps. People who are updating their frameworks for Python 3 and people who have decided to keep it in Python 2. So in the case of CoremlTools, Apple decided that it's only going to work with Python 2.7. So to prevent you from having a load of headaches, we're going to set up a virtual environment which will allow us to create a directory on our laptop, and we can specify the version of Python used just for that directory. So it's a way of isolating a particular directory and explicitly specifying the version of Python that we're going to use. And this way we minimize errors and we give ourselves the best chance of doing this conversion as smoothly as possible. So even if you're really familiar with Python, even if you've been coding for 40 years, please just follow along with me for the time being. And once you've made it work and gotten to grips with the tools, then feel free to chop and change however you wish. So enough talking. Now that we've installed pip, we're going to use it to install a virtual environment package. So I'm going to navigate back to my root directory by writing cd change directory and the tilde symbol and hit enter. Now I'm back in my root directory, as you can tell with that tilde sign. So here I'm going to write pip install virtual env. So make sure that you've got the correct spelling and then hit enter. So if you get an error like this, where it says permission denied, then all you need to do is just to add the sudo keyword in front of it. So now, instead of pip install virtual env, it's sudo pip install virtual env. And once it's successfully installed, you should get a success message and a version of your virtual env, and it should be the same or higher than what I've got here. All right, so we've got our virtual environment package installed. Now it's time to set up our virtual environment. Now, in order to do this, the best practice is probably to set up an environments directory where you can manage all of your various environments. So I'm going to do that in my root directory, so the one that's represented by the tilde symbol. And here I'm going to use the make directory command to make a new folder called environments and hit enter. Now, for those of you guys who are more familiar with the graphic user interface or prefer the GUI, then if you have a look inside your user folder in Finder, then you should be able to see a folder that was newly created called environments. So now that we've got this environments folder up here, we're going to cd or change directory in there. So cd environments. So now we are inside environments, and this is the place where we're going to create our virtual environment in Python 2.7. So to do that, we're going to invoke virtual env -- python equals -user /bin /python 2.7, and we're going to call that directory Python 27. So what this line does is it uses the virtual environment package to create a directory called Python 27 inside the environments directory, and it's going to set it up to run on Python 2.7. So now if I hit enter, you'll see that it's going to take a little while, and once it's done, if you have a look inside environments, you now have this directory called Python 27. So to start our virtual environment, all you need to write is source Python 27 /bin /activate. Hit enter, and you can see you are now running on Python 27. And we can check that by writing Python -- version. Hit enter, and you can see we are running Python 2.7.10. So awesome. Now, in order to exit the Python 2.7 environment, all you need to do is just type deactivate. And you can see we are back now in our environments directory, and we are no longer inside the Python 27 virtual environment. Now, let's say in the future you decide to create a Python 3.6 virtual environment, and you can check to see Python -- version. You can see now we are running on Python 3.6.1. So previously we were running 2.7, and now we're running 3.6, and this is all done by using virtual environments. Now let's get back to our main topic, installing CoremlTools. So let's deactivate our Python 3.6 and get back into our Python 2.7. So source, then Python 27 /bin /activate while inside your environments folder. So hit enter, and you should see we're now back into Python 2.7 virtual environment. So while we're inside a Python 2.7 virtual environment, we are going to install our CoremlTools. And it's as easy as writing pip install -u CoremlTools. Hit enter, and it should take a little while, not too long, and now it's done. And if you're interested in what that -u does, it simply helps you install the latest version of CoremlTools. So whereas if you just wrote pip install CoremlTools, if you already had it on your system, it would say already installed, this is the version. But by adding that modifier -u, then even if you have CoremlTools, it'll go and check and grab the latest version of it and help you install it. All right, and so that's all you need to do. So deactivate to get out of Python 2.7 virtual environment, and we are done. We have installed CoremlTools using pip and Python, and we are now ready to convert our model into a ML model file. As always, if you have any trouble doing any of that, be sure to start a new thread in the Q&A, and we'll try and help you out. So I'll see you on the next lesson.